The massive chamber stretched across 3 kilometers of polished crystal floor, its dome ceiling reaching so high that clouds formed near the top. Representatives from 47 different worlds sat in floating seats arranged in perfect circles, around a central speaking platform. The air hummed with translation devices working overtime, converting thousands of different languages into understandable words. Ambassador Tae-min stepped onto the glowing platform at the center of the chamber. His tall, thin body moved with careful grace, and his 3 purple eyes swept across the assembled crowd. As the representative of the Galarian Empire, one of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy, his words carried enormous weight. "Fellow beings of the Galactic Council," Taemin began, his voice amplified by hidden speakers throughout the vast hall. "We gather today to discuss a threat that grows stronger with each passing cycle. The humans of the 3rd planet in the Sol system have become dangerous to our peaceful galaxy." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some representatives leaned forward in their floating chairs, while others activated recording devices to capture every word. The Galarian Empire had not called for such a gathering in over 200 years. Taemin touched a control on his wrist, and a massive holographic display appeared above the platform. It showed a small yellow star with several planets orbiting around it. The 3rd planet glowed blue and green, covered in swirling white clouds. "Observe their expansion rate," Taemin continued. The display changed to show human spacecraft spreading outward from Earth over the past 50 years. Red dots marked human colonies and space stations, growing from just a few to hundreds scattered across their solar system. In merely 5 decades, they have claimed their entire star system. No species in recorded history has expanded so quickly. A representative from the Vorthon Collective, a being that looked like a walking tree with silver bark, raised one of its branch-like arms. "But Ambassador Taemin, they have remained within their own system. They have not attempted to claim territory belonging to other civilizations." Taemin's 3 eyes focused on the Vorthon representative. "Not yet. But observe their technological advancement." The hologram shifted again, showing human ships from 50 years ago next to their current vessels. The difference was shocking. The older ships were crude metal boxes barely capable of reaching their own moon. The newer ones were sleek, powerful craft that could travel between planets in days rather than months. "Their learning speed is unprecedented," Taemin said, his voice growing more urgent. "They have developed fusion power, quantum computers, and advanced artificial intelligence in less time than most species take to improve their farming methods. At this rate, they will have faster-than-light travel within 20 years. The chamber fell silent. FTL travel was the great dividing line between primitive and advanced civilizations. Species that achieved it became players on the galactic stage. Species that achieved it too quickly often became threats. Representative Sul-Hee from the Draknari Federation stood up. Her reptilian features showed concern as she spoke. "What evidence do we have that they pose an actual threat? Expansion and technological growth are natural for intelligent species." Taemin had been waiting for this question. The hologram changed once more, this time showing intercepted human communications. Subtitles appeared in various languages as human voices played through the chamber's speakers. "We must be prepared for any threat from beyond our system," came the voice of a human military leader. "Our defense networks must be capable of protecting Earth from hostile alien forces." Another voice joined in. "The new particle beam satellites will give us complete coverage of all approach vectors. No enemy fleet will reach Earth undetected." The representatives listened as more communications played, each one seeming to show humans preparing for war against unknown alien enemies. The voices spoke of weapons, defenses, and military preparations that seemed far beyond what a peaceful species would need. Taemin raised his hand, and the audio stopped. "They speak constantly of preparing for alien invasion. Their entire military structure is built around fighting species they have never met. They assume we are enemies before they have even encountered us." The Vorthan representative rustled its silver leaves nervously. "Perhaps they are simply being cautious. Many species prepare for unknown threats. Cautious species do not build weapons capable of destroying entire moons," Taemin replied coldly. The hologram showed what appeared to be a human test of some kind of massive weapon. A small asteroid vanished in a flash of brilliant light. "Our intelligence sources confirm they possess over 300 such devices." A wave of shocked whispers swept through the chamber. Planetary-scale weapons were heavily regulated by galactic law. Most civilizations were allowed no more than a dozen, and only for defense against space hazards like rogue asteroids. Representative Kyung-soo from the hegemony of aligned worlds activated his floating chair's communication system. His blue-skinned humanoid form leaned forward as he spoke. Ambassador Tae-min, what action does the Calarian Empire propose? Tae-min had been building toward this moment for months. Everything depended on the next few minutes. The humans cannot be allowed to develop FTL technology. Once they achieve interstellar travel, they will spread across the galaxy like a plague. Their aggressive nature and advanced weapons make them an unacceptable risk to all peaceful civilizations. The chamber erupted in discussion. Representatives activated private communication channels, consulting with their governments light years away. Some beings gathered in small groups, debating in hushed tones. The Vorthon representative seemed to be arguing with the Draknari representative, their translated words overlapping in confusion. Tae-min waited for the noise to die down before continuing. I propose immediate military intervention. A joint fleet should be assembled to conquer the Sol system before the humans can complete their FTL research. Their population should be relocated to supervised worlds where they can be properly integrated into galactic society. The word relocated hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Everyone knew what it meant. Entire populations removed from their home world, scattered across different planets, their culture and unity destroyed forever. It was the ultimate punishment for species deemed too dangerous to exist independently. Representative Sul-hee stood again, her reptilian features showing distress. Such action has not been taken for over 1,000 years. Are we certain this is necessary? The alternative is worse, Tae-min replied. Allow the humans to achieve FTL capability, and within a century they will challenge the established order of galactic civilization. Their expansion rate and weapon development make this inevitable. The debate continued for hours. Representatives argued about human intentions, about the ethics of preemptive action, about the precedent such a decision would set. But underlying all the discussion was fear. Fear of a species that advanced too quickly, that built too many weapons that might upset the careful balance of power that had kept the galaxy relatively peaceful for millennia. Finally, the Galactic Council's ancient voting protocol was activated. Each representative's chair glowed as they cast their decision. Green lights meant support for military action. Red lights meant opposition. Yellow lights meant abstention. The results appeared on the great display for all to see. 43 green lights, 0 red lights, 4 yellow lights. The decision was overwhelming. The human species of Earth would face the combined military might of nearly the entire galaxy. Their expansion would be stopped, their weapons confiscated, their populations scattered to the winds. As the representatives began filing out of the Great Chamber, already making plans for the largest military operation in galactic history, none of them noticed the small recording device that had been silently observing their every word. On a ship hidden beyond the edge of the Sol system, Dr. Ji-Young Park finished watching the transmission and reached for her communication device. Earth needed to know what was coming. Commander Hyun-woo stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the blue and green planet grow larger on the main screen. Behind his massive vessel, 9,999 other ships followed in perfect formation. The combined fleet stretched across millions of kilometers of space, the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. The commander's 4 arms moved across multiple control panels as he reviewed the final attack plans. His species had evolved from ocean predators, and his shark-like features showed no emotion as he prepared to destroy an entire civilization. This was simply another job, another primitive species that needed to be controlled before they became dangerous. "Sir, we have reached optimal position," reported his tactical officer, a young warrior named Yong-soo. "All ships are in formation around the 3rd planet. Our weapons are charged and ready." Yun-woo nodded his massive head. The fleet had positioned itself in a perfect sphere around Earth, with ships at every possible angle of approach. No human vessel could escape this trap, and no human defense could cover every direction at once. The battle would be over in hours, maybe less. "Open all communication channels," Hyun-woo ordered. "Broadcast the surrender demand on every frequency the humans use." The communication officer, a tall being with 6 eyes and crystalline skin, worked quickly at her station. "All channels open, Commander. Broadcasting now." Hyunwoo's image appeared on every television screen, computer monitor, and communication device on Earth. His translated voice echoed through every human language simultaneously. "People of Sol 3, I am Commander Hyunwoo of the Galactic Council. Enforcement Fleet, your species has been judged a threat to galactic peace and order. You will surrender immediately and prepare for relocation to designated worlds throughout the galaxy. Any resistance will result in the complete destruction of your planet. You have 72 hours to comply." In the United Nations building, in New York, Secretary General Dong-Ho Kim stared at the massive alien face on the emergency screen. Around him, representatives from every nation on Earth sat in stunned silence. The translation had been perfect, leaving no doubt about the messages. "Meaning? How many ships?" Dong-Ho asked quietly. General Rosa Martinez, head of the Global Defense Force, checked her tablet with shaking hands. "Our satellites count approximately 10,000 vessels, sir. Each one is larger than our biggest space station. We estimate they could destroy every major city on Earth within minutes." Dong-Ho closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He had trained for many crisis situations during his career, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. An entire alien fleet had appeared without warning, demanding humanity's complete surrender. "Open a response channel," he said finally. "I need to speak with their commander." Meanwhile, at the Deep Space Monitoring Station in South Korea, Dr. Ji-Young Park worked frantically at her computers. She had been tracking the approaching fleet for days, ever since her hidden sensors had detected their arrival at the edge of the solar system. Now she was humanity's primary link to the alien forces surrounding their world. "Dr. Park," came a voice from her headset. "This is Secretary General Kim. Can you establish direct communication with the alien commander?" Ji-Young's fingers flew across her keyboard, adjusting frequencies and power levels. "Working on it now, sir. Their communication technology is more advanced than ours, but I think I can create a stable connection." She had spent years studying theoretical alien communication methods, never believing she would actually need to use that knowledge. Her equipment hummed and sparked as she pushed it beyond its designed limits, searching for the right combination of signals that would reach the alien fleet. "Got it," she announced as a holographic image flickered to life above her main console. The image showed the bridge of an alien ship, with the massive form of Commander Hyunwoo dominating the display. The alien commander looked down at Ji-Young with what might have been curiosity. His shark-like features were difficult to read, but his 4 eyes seemed to be studying her carefully. "I am Dr. Ji-Young Park, representing Earth's scientific community," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "We request the opportunity for peaceful negotiations before any hostile action is taken." Hyunwoo's translator converted her words into his native language, and he replied immediately. "There will be no negotiations, human. Your species has been judged dangerous by the Galactic Council. The decision has been made. You will comply with relocation orders or face destruction." Ji-Young leaned forward, her dark eyes intense. "Dangerous? How are we dangerous? We have never left our own solar system. We have never attacked another species. We don't even know other species existed until today. Your rapid technological advancement and military preparations indicate aggressive intentions," Hyunwoo replied coldly. "Your species builds weapons, capable of destroying worlds. You speak constantly of preparing for alien invasion. These are not the actions of a peaceful civilization. We build defenses because we don't know what's out there," Ji-Young said, gesturing toward the stars visible through her station's windows. "Any intelligent species would prepare for unknown threats. That's not aggression, that's survival instinct." Commander Hyunwoo studied the human scientist through the holographic display. Something about her response bothered him, though he could not identify exactly what. In his experience, primitive species facing overwhelming force either panicked or immediately surrendered. This human seemed neither terrified nor defeated. She appeared to be stalling for time. "Your preparations go far beyond simple defense," he said. "Our intelligence shows you possess hundreds of planet-killing weapons. No peaceful species requires such destructive capability." Ji-Young shook her head. "Those aren't weapons, Commander. They're asteroid defense systems. Our solar system contains millions of rocks that could destroy our planet if they hit us. We built those systems to protect Earth from natural disasters, not to attack other worlds." This gave Hyunwoo pause. His intelligence reports had focused on the destructive capability, of human technology, not its intended purpose. Could the Council's analysis have been incomplete? Even if your intentions are peaceful, he said after a moment, your technological advancement rate is unprecedented. At your current pace, you will achieve faster-than-light travel within decades. The galaxy cannot risk allowing such rapid development to continue unchecked. Why not? Ji Young asked. What's wrong with learning and growing? What's wrong with trying to better ourselves and explore the universe? The question caught Hyun-woo off guard. In his 1,000 years of military service, no species had ever asked him to justify the Galactic Council's decisions. They simply accepted their fate or fought hopelessly against superior forces. The established order maintains peace, he replied, though his voice lacked its earlier conviction. Rapid change leads to instability. Instability leads to war. The Council prevents such chaos through careful control of technological development. Ji Young was quiet for a long moment, studying the alien commander's face. When she spoke again, her voice was softer but somehow more intense. Commander Hyun-woo, may I ask you a personal question? How long has your species been part of this galactic order? The Vraxians have served the Council for 3,000 years, he answered automatically. And in those 3,000 years, how much has your civilization advanced? How much have your people grown and learned? Hyun-woo found himself unable to answer immediately. The truth was that Vraxian society had remained essentially unchanged for millennia. They had accepted their role as military enforcers for the Council, and had never questioned whether there might be more to existence than serving older, more established civilizations. Growth is not always beneficial, he said finally. Stability is more important than progress. Is it? Ji Young asked quietly. Or is that just what they tell you to keep you from asking uncomfortable questions? Before Hyun-woo could respond, his tactical officer's voice cut through the conversation. Commander, we're detecting unusual energy readings from the planet's surface. Multiple locations are showing massive power buildups. Hyun-woo turned away from the communication display to look at his tactical screens. 17 points on Earth's surface were glowing brighter and brighter, energy readings climbing far beyond anything in his ship's databases. When he turned back to the holographic display, Dr. Ji Young was smiling. It was not a friendly smile. Commander, she said, her voice completely changed from the diplomatic scientist who had been speaking moments before. I believe you may have made a very serious mistake. President Soo-jin Lee stood in the underground command center beneath the Blue House in Seoul, watching the live feed from Dr. Ji Young's monitoring station. Around her, the most powerful leaders on Earth waited for her decision. The alien fleet hung in space above them like a death sentence, and humanity had less than 72 hours to surrender or face complete destruction. Madam President, said Defense Minister Chang Wook-park, his face pale with stress. Our conventional weapons are useless against their fleet. Even our most powerful nuclear missiles would barely scratch their smallest ships. We have no choice but to surrender. Soo-jin looked at the faces around her. Generals, scientists, world leaders, all of them showing the same expression of hopeless defeat. All except one. Dr. Min-ho Choi sat quietly in the corner, his weathered face calm despite the chaos surrounding them. Dr. Choi, Soo-jin said, turning to the elderly scientist. Is it ready? The old man nodded slowly. The Quantum Defense Project has been operational for 6 months. All 17 stations are online and waiting for activation. But, Madam President, once we begin, there will be no going back. The world will never be the same. Soo-jin had known this day might come. For 30 years, she had been part of a secret group of world leaders who knew the truth about humanity's real nature. The knowledge had been passed down through generations of carefully selected individuals waiting for the moment when it would be needed. What are you talking about? Demanded General Martinez from the United States. What quantum defense project? I've never heard of any such program. Because you weren't supposed to, Soo-jin replied calmly. Some secrets are too important to share, even with allies. Dr. Choi, initiate Protocol Omega. Dr. Min-ho Choi opened a sealed briefcase he had carried into the command center. Inside was a single red button surrounded by complex electronic equipment. He looked at President Lee one final time, received her nod, and pressed the button. Across the planet, 17 hidden facilities suddenly came to life. These installations had been built in the most remote locations on Earth, deep in the Amazon rainforest, buried under the Antarctic ice, hidden in ocean trenches, concealed in mountain ranges. For decades, they had waited in silence, maintained by small teams of scientists who believed they were working on theoretical research projects. Commander Hyun-woo watched his tactical displays with growing alarm as energy readings from Earth's surface spiked beyond anything his instruments could properly measure. The 17 locations were generating power levels that should have been impossible for a primitive civilization to produce. "Sir, the energy output from those surface installations now exceeds the total power generation of our entire fleet," reported Yong-soo, his voice shaking with disbelief. "How is that possible?" Before Hyun-woo could respond, space around his fleet began to change. Reality itself seemed to bend and twist as massive pillars of pure energy erupted from Earth's surface, stretching out into space like the fingers of an enormous hand. The pillars passed harmlessly through his ships, but they created ripples in space-time that made his navigation systems scream warnings. "What kind of technology is this?" Hyun-woo whispered, staring at the impossible sight on his main screen. In her monitoring station, Dr. Ji-young watched the energy pillars form with a mixture of awe and sadness. She had known this moment would come eventually, but she had hoped humanity would have more time to prepare the galaxy for the truth. Her communication system crackled to life and President Lee's voice filled the station. "Dr. Park, you are now authorized to reveal classification level Omega information to the alien fleet. Make sure they understand what they're dealing with." Ji-young nodded and turned back to her holographic display, where Commander Hyun-woo's image waited. The alien commander's shark-like features showed confusion and the first hints of fear. "Commander," Ji-young said, her voice carrying a new authority that hadn't been there before. "I need to tell you something about human history, something your Galactic Council doesn't know." "What kind of trick is this?" Hyun-woo demanded. "What? Are those energy pillars? What technology are you using?" "It's not a trick, and it's not really our technology," Ji-young replied. "Commander, how old do you think human civilization is?" "Our intelligence reports indicate roughly 10,000 years since you developed agriculture and permanent settlements." Ji-young shook her head. "That's when we started over, not when we began." "Commander, humans have been in this solar system for over 2 million years. The civilization you see today is not our first attempt at building a society." The alien commander's four eyes widened in disbelief. "Impossible. Our archaeological surveys show no evidence of advanced human civilization before your current period. Because we cleaned up after ourselves," Ji-young said simply. "When the first human civilization reached the point where they could transcend physical existence, they removed all traces of their technology from the planet. They wanted their descendants to develop naturally, without relying on inherited power." On his bridge, Hyun-woo struggled to process what he was hearing. If the human was telling the truth, it meant the Galactic Council's entire understanding of human history was wrong. "You're saying your species developed advanced technology 2 million years ago and then deliberately forgot it?" he asked. "Not forgot," Ji-young corrected. "We chose to set it aside. The first human civilization realized that true advancement isn't about building bigger weapons or faster ships. It's about growing beyond the need for physical tools altogether, so they transcended, becoming beings of pure energy and consciousness. But they left behind watchers, us, to guide their descendants and protect this world." The energy pillars pulsed, and suddenly the space around Earth filled with ships. But these weren't human vessels as Hyun-woo understood them. They were constructs of crystallized starlight, their hulls seeming to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. They appeared not through hyperspace or any known faster-than-light method, but simply materialized as if they had always been there. "Sir," Yong-soo reported, his voice barely above a whisper, "I'm reading approximately 50,000 vessels, but the energy signatures, they don't match anything in our databases. It's like they're made of controlled physics rather than matter." Hyun-woo stared at the impossible fleet that now surrounded his own forces. Each of the new ships was smaller than his vessels, but they radiated power that made his most advanced weapons look like primitive clubs. "Who are they?" he asked Ji-young. "They're us," she replied. "The humans who transcended 2 million years ago. They've been watching from outside normal space-time. waiting for the moment when they would be needed. You brought that moment when you decided to threaten their descendants. President Sujin's voice joined the conversation, transmitted from the command center to every ship in both fleets. Commander Hyunwoo, you and your Galactic Council made a fundamental error. You assumed we were a young, primitive species that could be easily controlled. You assumed we were alone and defenseless. Most importantly, you assumed we were like every other civilization you've encountered. The transcended human ships began to move, not through space but around it, positioning themselves in patterns that hurt to look at directly. They were arranging themselves according to principles of physics that normal matter couldn't follow. We are not like other civilizations, Sujin continued. We are the children of beings who evolved beyond the need for conquest, beyond the need for control, beyond the need for physical existence itself. And now, Commander, you must choose. Will you listen to what they have to say? Or will you continue with your plan to destroy a world under their protection? Commander Hyunwoo looked at his tactical displays, showing his 10,000 ships completely surrounded by 50,000 vessels that existed partially outside normal reality. His weapons were designed to fight conventional matter and energy. Against beings who had transcended physical limitations, his entire fleet was utterly helpless. For the first time in his 1,000 years of military service, Commander Hyunwoo realized he was not the predator in this situation. He was prey, and he had just attacked the offspring of something so far beyond his understanding that his mind struggled to process its existence. What do they want? He asked quietly. Dr. Ji Young's expression softened slightly. They want to talk, Commander. They want to understand why you thought destroying their children was necessary, and they want to decide whether your species is capable of learning better. The communication channel fell silent as both fleets waited in the shadow of Earth, surrounded by beings of transcended light who had returned from beyond physical existence, to judge the actions of those who still lived in the world of matter and energy. Commander Hyunwoo felt the familiar sensation of his ship's bridge dissolving around him. But this was not teleportation as he knew it. His body didn't move through space. Instead, space itself seemed to rearrange so that he was suddenly somewhere else entirely. He found himself standing in a vast chamber that appeared to be made of living starlight. The walls pulsed with colors that had no names, and the floor beneath his feet felt solid despite being completely transparent. Around him, his senior officers materialized one by one, their faces showing the same confusion and terror he felt. Yong-Soo appeared beside him, followed by the navigation officer Dal-I and communications specialist Hye-Jin. All of them looked around in bewilderment at the impossible architecture surrounding them. "Where are we?" Dal-I whispered, her 6 eyes darting nervously around the luminous chamber. Before anyone could answer, shapes began to form in the light itself. These were not beings in any sense that the aliens could understand. They were patterns of pure consciousness given form, geometries of thought made visible. When they spoke, their words bypassed the ears entirely and resonated directly in the minds of all present. "You are in a place between places," the largest of the light beings communicated. "A space that exists in the gap between reality and possibility. We are what humans became when they chose to grow beyond the limitations of physical existence." Commander Hyunwoo struggled to maintain his composure. In his 1,000 years of military service, he had faced countless enemies and impossible situations, but nothing had prepared him for beings that existed as pure consciousness. "You are the transcended humans Dr. Park spoke of?" he managed to ask. "We are what your kind would call the progenitors," came the reply. "Though we prefer to think of ourselves simply as what humanity became when it stopped trying to conquer and started trying to understand." Another consciousness joined the conversation, its presence feeling ancient beyond measure. "You have come to our children's world with weapons and threats. You claim authority over beings who never asked for your guidance. Explain your actions." Hyunwoo felt compelled to speak truthfully in this place. Lies seemed impossible here, as if the very nature of the chamber would expose any deception. "The Galactic Council determined that humans posed a threat to galactic stability," he said. "Their rapid technological advancement and military preparations suggested they would become aggressive conquerors if left unchecked." "Show us these preparations," the progenitor commanded. Suddenly, Hyunwoo found himself experiencing human history from humanity's perspective. He saw through human eyes as they developed technology not for conquest, but for survival. He witnessed their struggle to protect their world from asteroid impacts, solar flares, and the countless dangers of living on a single planet in an uncertain universe. He saw human scientists working desperately to develop defenses against unknown threats from space, never knowing if hostile aliens might arrive at any moment. He experienced their debates about whether other intelligent life even existed, and their careful preparations for the possibility that first contact might not be peaceful. Most shocking of all, he saw how humans viewed their own expansion into their solar system. Where the Galactic Council saw aggressive territorial claims, humans saw the desperate need to spread their civilization across multiple worlds so that a single disaster could not destroy their entire species. They were never preparing to attack anyone, Hyunwoo said in amazement. They were preparing to defend themselves against attacks they feared might come. And yet your council decided they were dangerous, another progenitor observed. Based on what evidence? The chamber around them shifted, and suddenly they were experiencing the Galactic Council's intelligence-gathering process. Hyunwoo watched in growing horror as he saw how biased and incomplete the information had been. The Council's agents had intercepted human military communications, but had never tried to understand their context. They had observed human weapons tests, but had ignored the fact that these weapons were designed to destroy asteroids and comets, not inhabited worlds. They had noted human expansion, but had never considered that spreading across multiple planets was a survival strategy, not preparation for conquest. Worst of all, the Council had never made any attempt to communicate with humans directly. They had judged an entire species based on assumptions and fears, never bothering to ask humanity about their actual intentions. We were wrong, Hyunwoo admitted, the words tasting bitter in his mouth. The Council's intelligence was flawed. We condemned an innocent species based on incomplete information and our own prejudices. Indeed, the progenitor agreed. But this raises a larger question. How many other species has your council misjudged? How many civilizations have been destroyed or relocated based on similar flawed analysis? The question hit Hyunwoo like a physical blow. In his military career, he had participated in dozens of similar operations, species judged too aggressive, too advanced, too different from the accepted norm. He had never questioned these decisions, trusting that the ancient civilizations on the council knew better than he did. Now, for the first time, he began to wonder how many innocent peoples he had helped destroy. The council maintains galactic peace, he said weakly, though the words no longer carried conviction. Does it? Another progenitor asked. The chamber shifted again, showing a timeline of galactic history spanning millions of years. Or does it maintain galactic stagnation? Hyunwoo watched as the history unfolded before him. He saw civilization. After civilization arise, begin to advance rapidly, and then be forcibly integrated into the Council's systems. He saw promising species relocated to controlled worlds where their development was carefully managed and limited. He saw potential cut short, dreams crushed, and progress halted in the name of stability. The galaxy has been essentially unchanged for over 1 million years, the progenitor continued. The same elder races maintain the same power structures. The same rules prevent any significant advancement. The same fears keep younger species trapped in predetermined roles. But without control, there would be chaos, Hyunwoo protested. Wars, conquest, destruction. Would there? The chamber showed him glimpses of what humanity had achieved in just 50 years of unrestricted development. Medical advances that eliminated diseases, energy systems that could power entire worlds without pollution, communication technologies that allowed perfect understanding between different species. Look what your children accomplished when you stopped watching them, a progenitor said to its companions. Look what they built when they were free to grow. The display shifted to show other worlds, other species that had been allowed to develop naturally in hidden corners of the galaxy. Each had found unique solutions to universal problems. Each had contributed something valuable to the greater understanding of existence. The galaxy doesn't need controllers, the progenitor explained to Hyunwoo. It needs teachers. It needs guides who help younger species reach their potential instead of limiting them to predetermined roles. Ambassador Taemin suddenly materialized in the chamber, his 3 purple eyes wide with terror. Behind him came other council representatives, all looking confused and frightened. "What is this place?" Taemin demanded, his diplomatic composure cracking. "By what authority do you bring us here?" "By the authority of those who watched civilizations rise and fall before your species learned to make fire," came the cold reply. "You have judged our children and found them wanting. Now we judge you." The chamber filled with more presences, beings of such ancient wisdom that their very existence made the council representatives feel like children playing with toys they didn't understand. "For 1,000,000 years, you have kept the galaxy in a cage of your own making," the lead progenitor communicated. "You have prevented growth, stifled innovation, and destroyed potential in the name of maintaining your own power. This ends now." Taemin tried to protest, but found his voice caught in his throat. The weight of eons pressed down on him, making him realize how small and insignificant his mighty empire truly was. "You will be given a choice," the progenitor continued. "Learn to guide, instead of control, or be removed from positions where you can cause further harm. The age of the Council's dominance is over. The age of true galactic civilization is about to begin." Commander Hyun-woo felt the chamber beginning to fade around him, reality reasserting itself. But before he returned to his ship, he heard one final message from the transcended beings. "Your people are not evil, Commander. They are simply afraid. Fear makes beings do terrible things to preserve what they think they understand, but understanding grows only when fear is overcome. Help your people overcome their fear, and they too can become something greater than they ever imagined." Commander Hyun-woo found himself back on his ship's bridge, but everything had changed. His weapons systems showed no power. His faster-than-light engines were completely offline. All around him, his crew worked frantically at their stations, trying to restore basic ship functions. "Sir, all weapon systems are non-responsive," reported Yong-soo, panic creeping into his voice. "The energy cores are active, but the power isn't reaching any of our offensive capabilities. Navigation is also compromised," added Dale from her station. "We have basic life support and communications, but we cannot leave this solar system. It's as if something is preventing our FTL drives from activating." Through the main view screen, Hyun-woo could see his entire fleet in the same condition. 10,000 warships, the pride of galactic military might, reduced to helpless metal boxes floating in space around a small blue planet. Dr. Ji Young's voice crackled through the communication system, but her tone was no longer threatening. Instead, she sounded almost gentle, like a teacher speaking to confused students. "Commander Hyun-woo, please don't be alarmed. Your ships and crews are perfectly safe. Your weapons have been disabled to prevent any accidental conflicts, and your FTL capabilities have been temporarily suspended. This is not a punishment. It's a precaution while we begin your education." "Education?" Hyun-woo asked, though he already suspected what she meant. "The progenitors have made their decision," Ji Young explained. "Your fleets will remain in our solar system as guests while you and your people learn what true civilization looks like. When you're ready to return to your home worlds and share that knowledge, your ships will be restored to full functionality." Earth, President Soo-jin Lee stood in the command center, watching as human ships began approaching the stranded alien fleet. But these weren't military vessels. They were transport ships, medical vessels, and construction platforms. "Begin Operation Welcome," she ordered. Around the solar system, humanity's true capabilities became visible for the first time. Massive space stations that had been hidden in asteroid fields suddenly powered up, their hulls shimmering as stealth. Fields deactivated. Ships that seemed to be built from crystallized light emerged from behind moons and planets. Manufacturing platforms that could reshape matter at the molecular level began constructing temporary habitats for 10,000 alien. Cruise Commander Hyun-woo watched in amazement as a human vessel approached his flagship. It was barely 1/10 the size of his massive warship, but the energy readings it produced were unlike anything in his experience. The ship moved not by pushing against space, but by convincing space to move around it. "This is Captain Sun-woo, Han of the Earth Vessel Harmony," came a transmission. "Commander Hyun-woo, we're here to offer assistance and supplies. Your crew must be frightened and confused. We'd like to help make your stay as comfortable as possible." The alien commander stared at the approaching ship. In his military experience, defeated enemies were imprisoned, enslaved, or executed. They were not offered comfort and assistance. "Why are you helping us?" he asked. "We came here to destroy your world and scatter your people. We are your enemies," Captain Han's image appeared on the view screen, showing a middle-aged human with kind eyes and a warm smile. "You're not our enemies, Commander. You're beings who were given incomplete information and made decisions based on fear. That doesn't make you evil. It makes you victims of a system that taught you to fear instead of understand." Over the following days, something unprecedented began happening throughout the solar system. Human ships docked with alien vessels, not to board them as conquerors, but to deliver supplies and offer friendship. Human engineers worked alongside alien technicians to improve living conditions on the stranded ships. Human doctors treated alien crew members who had been injured during their long journey to Earth. Most importantly, humans began sharing their real history with their unexpected guests. They showed them libraries of information about Earth's true past, about the civilization that had transcended physical existence, and about humanity's role as guides and watchers for younger species. Ambassador Tai Min found himself in a comfortable apartment aboard a human space station, staring out at Earth through a transparent wall. The planet looked so peaceful from space, covered in swirling white clouds and blue oceans. It was hard to believe that this small world was home to the descendants of beings who had evolved beyond physical existence. Dr. Minho Choi visited him regularly, bringing tea and engaging in long conversations about galactic history and the nature of civilization. The elderly human scientist was patient and kind, never making Tae-min feel stupid for his previous misconceptions. "Your council ruled the galaxy for 1,000,000 years, Dr. Choi said during one of their talks. But in all that time, did any species under council guidance achieve transcendence? Did anyone grow beyond their original limitations?" Tae-min thought about the question seriously. The truth was that the council's primary goal had always been maintaining stability. Growth and change were seen as threats to the established order. "No," he admitted finally. "The council's purpose was to prevent change, not encourage it. And yet change is the only way to truly grow," Dr. Choi replied. The progenitors understood this. They realized that true advancement comes not from controlling others, but from helping them reach their full potential. Throughout the solar system, similar conversations were taking place. Human teachers worked with alien students, sharing not just knowledge but wisdom. They showed their guests how cooperation could achieve more than domination, how diversity of thought led to better solutions than enforced conformity. Commander Hyun-woo spent hours each day in discussion with Captain Han, learning about human philosophy and ethics. The human captain never lectured or preached. Instead, he asked questions that made Hyun-woo think about his own beliefs and assumptions. "In your 1,000 years of military service," Captain Han asked one day, "how many problems did you solve? Through force?" "Many," Hyun-woo replied automatically. Then he paused to consider the question more carefully. "Actually, I ended conflicts through force, but I never really solved the underlying problems that caused those conflicts in the first place." What do you think would have happened if you had tried to understand and address those underlying problems instead of just suppressing the symptoms? The question haunted Hyun-woo for days. He began to realize that his entire career had been built on treating symptoms rather than causes, on maintaining power structures rather than creating lasting solutions. Months passed. The alien crews, initially angry and resentful about their captivity, gradually began to see their situation differently. They were not prisoners. They were students in the most advanced university in the galaxy. They were learning from beings whose ancestors had successfully transcended the limitations that had trapped every other known species. Some aliens remained skeptical, convinced that humanity was simply more skilled at deception than other species. But even the skeptics could not deny the evidence of their own eyes. They saw human society functioning without the rigid hierarchies that dominated galactic civilization. They saw conflicts resolved through discussion and compromise rather than force. They saw technology used to create and heal rather than destroy. Most convincing of all, they saw the transcended beings themselves. The progenitors occasionally manifested in physical space, not to intimidate or threaten, but to teach. Their presence was so far beyond normal existence that even the most stubborn alien had to acknowledge that humanity's path led to something greater than anything the Galactic Council had ever achieved. After a full year in the solar system, Commander Hyun-woo stood on the observation deck of his restored flagship. His weapons were functional again, his FTL drives were operational, and his crew was ready to return home. But he was not the same being who had arrived with conquest in mind. Dr. Ji Young contacted him one final time before his departure. "Commander, what will you tell your people when you return?" Hyunwoo looked out at Earth, that small blue world that had taught him more about true strength than 1,000 years of military service. "I will tell them that we were wrong," he said. "I will. Tell them that real power comes not from controlling others, but from helping them grow. I will tell them that the galaxy doesn't need more conquerors. It needs more teachers." "And if they don't believe you?" Hyunwoo smiled, an expression his species rarely used. "Then I will show them what I learned here. I will demonstrate that there is a better way than fear and control, and perhaps in time they too will understand." As the alien fleets prepared to depart, carrying with them seeds of change that would transform galactic civilization, the transcended beings watched from beyond physical space. Their children had done well. The long age of galactic stagnation was ending, and the age of true growth was about to begin. Earth continued its rotation, seemingly unchanged by the cosmic events that had unfolded around it. But across the galaxy, whispers were beginning to spread about a small blue world where impossible things were possible and where ancient wisdom had found new forms. The judgment was complete. The galaxy would never be the same.